camera, this camera, this camera. Which one? Which one? I'm scared of my 12-year-old sister. Let me clarify. Okay, I'm not scared because she's scary. She's actually a very sweet person. I'm not scared of what she's going to do to me. I'm just scared that I'm not going to be fun anymore. I'm scared that she won't find my jokes funny. I'm scared that when I finally see her again, I'll realize that I'm no longer the fun brother. Yeah, I know. This is corny as. What happens when someone you've known since they were literally like, you know, a kid starts becoming a person that you don't recognize anymore? Yeah, that's the question of the day. What happens? Okay, so for clarity, I'm 24 years old. My sister is 12 years old. That's obviously a 12-year age difference. But, I wasn't just her older brother. When she was little, I was heavily involved in raising her, in taking care of her, and around that kind of four, around 4 or 5, I started essentially being like a caretaker, caregiver, taking her to school, you know, bringing her back from school, checking up on her. I was just transported from being like a regular sibling to now caring for another person, caring for what is going on in this person's life. I started taking care of her much more like a parent. I was waking her up, taking her to school, and meanwhile I was in university at the same time, taking her to school, bathing, going through the morning process, that's in the morning, picking her from school after my school, bring her back, so many of those kind of stories, those kind of events. They just kept on going on and on that, this created a different kind of bond, essentially, is what I'm trying to say, kind of caregiver slash older brother slash parent figure kind of relationship. That's really what I have with my sister, you know. And I've never had a younger sibling before, and even when I was young, so I didn't have those chances to play. It's only when I go out with my mom or my dad to their friends' houses, then we'll play with our kids. After that, it's the next 1 month or so. But those kind of regular play that you play with your neighbors' kids, that's a whole topic for another day. But we didn't have those kind of things. We're inside the house kind of children. What do they call it? What do they call it again? Uh, Omo get inside. Those kind of kids. So why am I just coming up, going down, up, man? Anyways, so someone that I could talk to, someone who was simply just there. It's just one tiny human that is just there for you to just play with, talk to. Like everything that you needed after school. Just coming back home and just chilling, and there's someone that's just there to talk to you and laughs at everything that you say. It's like a sponge. The joy of seeing her learn how to stand, how to walk, how to run, those things, they were very, very special for me, honestly. It was special. I have everything ingrained in my head so much. And me and my sister, bro, my sister is my G, and she's just 12. Well, we've been through so much, man. I'm just trying to establish the kind of dynamic that is current in our relationship. I was actively involved in her growing up. As me, I was growing up. And so she they grew up too. We were growing up together like that, and I was involved. I was involved. Fast forward to after in Lagos, she went with my mom to go and live in the UK. Because my mom's there, not like ever. She moved like maybe 2 years before. You know, and also. And my sister went there, and from there they both went to Canada. That's where she is now. And since we were not physically together anymore, we found ways to kind of stay close, me and my sister. We used FaceTime, screen sharing, bro. As in, we used to screen share our WhatsApp video calls to watch shows on Netflix together. Beyblade, yeah. Watched like the first season of Beyblade over FaceTime. Talking, essentially just continuing our friendship from different countries. So, she was basically my best friend, my international best friend. Not in a dramatic way. What am I saying? She was my best friend, Daddy. Who is my friend? Get out from here. She's my best friend. At some point in this our FaceTimes, everything was going well. This is progression from from like 7 is when she moved to UK. So from 7, 8, 9, like everything was still intact. She was still laughing at all my jokes. We're still cool. She was still interested and enthusiastic in our phone calls, our FaceTimes. Everything was still cool. You know, but then 10, and I started noticing the first signs, some frictions, different reactions. Some jokes were not hitting the same anymore, you know? Then 11 to 12 now entered. It was now much more noticeable. She was now more nonchalant redhead, you know? And, besides all that, she started being more aware of how she appeared. She started being more interested in fitting in, becoming more independent. And again, listen, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with her. She's not doing anything wrong to me. She's just living a ooh, almost that fine girl. Anyways, there's nothing wrong with her. She's a wonderful being, a blessing to me and my entire family. Nothing is wrong with that. This is normal. This is normal. This is a normal progression. She's supposed to change. It's normal. The thing is just that I'm noticing that the little girl I remember is now becoming her own person. That's the hope. That's what this video is about. It's like, and I'm no way I'm saying I'm these people. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt. These people are famous, cool people. But our children don't see them the same way. To their kids, that's dad, that's dad, stop, that's embarrassing, don't embarrass me in front of my friends, those kind of things. Whereas to us, like, are you mad? Your father is Tom Cruise, that doesn't want to embarrass you. You doing like this is even embarrassing him. To us, we are seeing the celebrity. To them, they're just seeing that dad. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like, she's not going to see me like, oh, the cool guy anymore. She's not the funny guy. Now it's like, ugh, you know the fear is maybe one day, I will tell a joke and she will look at me and silence. Or worse, she will say, that was cringe. That was cringe. Sung 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 sahor. At that point then I will know that wow, it don't happen. That's officially happened. I'm no longer cool in my sister's eye. To continue with the story, this is where the emotional part of the video begins. In a few months or less than a year anyways, I'm planning to go to Canada to go and see my sister, to go and see and my mother as well, she's also part of the story. And I'm excited, but there's another thought that is just lingering, behind my head. It's like, what if I get there and the novelty wears off really, really quickly? What if within the first 2 days, or like the first 2 days are amazing, then suddenly she's on her phone, she's more interested in talking to her friends, she's doing her own thing. I might, do not take like this one. I want to go to Canada. Don't worry. That's another video. Because my brain still remembers her as 7, 8, 9, 10. The little girl who used to laugh at all my jokes. But she's not that person anymore. You know? And I think I've been expecting her to stay the same because in my head she kind of, did somehow. I mean, we're physically away from each other. So while she was growing up, part of, my mental image of her remained frozen. Frozen is another movie that we used to watch together. But the thing is, I understand that she has to become her own person. You know, I'm not trying to hold her back or anything. I'm acknowledging that, yeah, she has to grow. She has to become independent. She has to develop her own personality, her own identity. She has to figure out what she likes. She has to go through the awkward teenage years, the trying to be cool phase. It's part of growing up. Everybody goes through that. You can't tell someone that you shouldn't care what people think. They have to experience that. They have to learn that. Learn that. They They have to learn that for themselves. You know, I'm not trying to prevent that. Okay, even myself, I had to go through my own phase of, oh, maybe wearing jeans that are squeezing my thighs so much that it hurts to walk. Maybe that's not cool. The main thing is, see, I'm proud of her, and I want her to grow. I want her to be confident. I want her to become her own person. But I'll still miss the little girl. And those two feelings can exist at the same time. What I think, what I'm actually afraid of losing, afraid of losing the version of the relationship that we had. Yes. Games, watching shows together, FaceTiming, her laughing at my stupid jokes, just being able to talk in a way that it's like, obviously there's no one is trying to be cool, no one is trying to, cool like in a way, no one is actively trying to be put up a persona, an impression of like, all this. Just being able to just hang around and just kid, I should reframe my thoughts, maybe I go to Canada and everything is completely fine. I mean, maybe I say some jokes that she still laughs to, and some she rolls her eyes to. Maybe that's going to become the new dynamic. Being a brother isn't about always being the cool brother or always being the funny brother. It really just comes down to being someone that she knows will always be there, someone that she can always rely on. The little girl isn't disappearing; she's just becoming someone else. And this is going to give me the opportunity to get to know that person as well. So the main thing is that I'm proud of her. I'm excited to see who she becomes. I just didn't realize that watching someone grow up, could make me miss them while they're still right there. If that makes sense. So yeah, I'm scared of my 12-year-old sister. I'm doing that. Hey, you're probably wondering how I got here. So yeah, I'm scared of my 12-year-old sister turning 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 and 19. I want her to grow. I'm not saying I'm scared of her turning 13. No, I'm scared of you know the the personalities that come along with those ages. That's just it.